do this all the time in English subconsciously at the beginning of words that start with a vowel, like in the word apple. That's right, this is just an ah sound, and honestly, because we do it all the time at the beginning of words that start with a vowel, it's a lot harder to start words that start with a vowel without the full stop, which you're also going to have to learn how to do, than it is to pronounce the sound when we want to. If you still haven't figured out how to control your glottis from what I've described, just try coughing. You'll feel pressure build up in your lungs before releasing the pressure by opening part of your throat. The part of your throat is your glottis. Another way to get in touch with the muscles that control your glottis is to just open your mouth and make your lungs try to pull air in, but try closing something in your throat so that you can't. You've probably closed off your glottis. There'll be a little more on how to pronounce this in context later. And finally, we have the plosives. Oh my god, we have the plosives. Okay, so first off, if you put your hand up to your throat and go, ah, you'll feel something in your throat vibrate. Those are your vocal cords vibrating. In some consonants, like in sa, you don't vibrate your vocal cords or vocalize when you pronounce them, but in others, like za, you do. Now, when you pronounce a plosive, or a sound that you make by building up pressure behind something in your mouth, like your tongue or your lips, and then releasing it, you might vocalize or not at different points during this stage. In vocalized plosives, like in the English ba, da, and ga sounds, we vocalize while we're still building up pressure. In unvocalized plosives, like pa, ta, and ka, we start vocalizing later. But unvocalized plosives are subdivided into unaspirated ones where you start vocalizing again immediately after releasing the pressure, and aspirated ones, where you breathe out a little bit before starting to vocalize again. Now, the two can be difficult to tell the difference between for us English speakers because in English the two are allophones, or sounds that are different, but we go back and forth between without even knowing it depending on the circumstances. The P sound in pen, for example, is aspirated, while the P sound in spin is not. A great test to see whether you're aspirating it or not is to hold your hand up to your mouth and pronounce it. If you feel a little puff of air hit your hand, you're aspirating it, and if you don't, you're not. Now, I thought this was all to it, but apparently PIE doesn't have unvocalized aspirated consonants. It has vocalized aspirated consonants. Yeah, I didn't know this was possible until recently, when I realized that there's this weird fourth way to say these sounds where basically you start vocalizing while you're building up pressure, then you release it and breathe out quickly a little bit without vocalizing, and then you start vocalizing again when the vowel starts. Here's the best I can do for PIE's three consonants that do this. Ba, da, ga. Yeah, I'm not very good at it, but in a remarkable stroke of luck, I happen to know a native speaker of Nepalese named Assis, and in Nepalese, they have a vocalized aspirated velar plosive. Assis?
Ga. Ga.
So that's how a native speaker does it. In PIE, they also have unaspirated, unvocalized plosives, which are pronounced as follows. Ba, da, ga. Yeah, I'm bringing a cease back in for this one, and luckily in Nepalese, they have two of these sounds instead of just one.
Ga. Ga. Ba. Ba.
These three are relatively easy. They're pronounced just like the English ba, da, and ga sounds. Also, they have labialized versions of some of these, and labialized basically just means with a wa sound right after it. So they would be pronounced roughly like gwa, gwa, gwa. Okay, that's enough for pronunciation, now it's time to actually recite the story. The first line is Dorek se est, which means there once was a king. The tricky part here is the word est. You're going to have to pronounce the beginning of this word without closing your glottis, and then pronounce the middle of it by closing and releasing your glottis. Also, remember to pronounce the e in rex twice as long as normal. Not rex, but rex. So in putlos se est, he was childless. Again, we have that tricky est word, but we also have the letter n being treated as a vowel in putlos. So rex sunamawelt. He wanted a child. Remember to pronounce the ewelt without a glottal stop at the beginning. So deoso geheuterm perkisket suchnus moigniotam. He asked his priest, may a son be born to me. There are a couple tricky things about this line. We have the first aspirated vocalized plosive, and we also have the r sound being treated as a vowel in perkisket. The rest should be pretty straightforward if you've gotten everything so far. Just remember to pronounce the symbols I show you like I explained earlier in the video. Also, try to spot cognates with English or other Indo-European languages. The rest of it goes like this. Sodoso gehauter tom regum ewerquet, urgesvo de wom weruno. So rex de wom werunom, luposesore nu de wom ich geto. Clud hi moi,
I lost him.
werune. Devos werunos, cumta divos eguet. Quid velsi, velmi suchnum. Dod estu velquet locos devos werunos. Regos potni sunum gegon e. Well, that's all for today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section, and if you want to learn more Proto-Indo-European, there's this great website you should check out called Deww? Yeah, I have no idea how to pronounce this name, but, I'm certainly one to talk about weird, ambiguously pronounced names. Maybe it's an acronym? Anyway, they have a lot of information on Proto-Indo-European, and they're a lot more up-to-date than I am about accurate reconstruction. Until next time, goodbye. Proto-Indo-European comes up a lot in my videos. Heck, my very first 2 videos were both about PIE, but in case you don't know, linguists believe that a huge group of the world's languages are all descended from one common ancestor. This group includes almost all of the languages of Europe and like a third of the languages of Asia.